Good morning, students. Welcome to ARK Reflections IAS, and we'll go with the today's newspaper. Starting with the first, we have seen here some kind of a commercial here. The legendary freedom fighter Manyam Veerudu Alluri Sitaramraju 129th birth anniversary. So Alluri Sitaramraju, today is Alluri's birth anniversary. So what he is famous for? Birth anniversary, right? He is famous for the Rampa Rebellion. Rampa Rebellion. He fought against the colonial British during the times of 1920s, around 1922 or something. He's famous for the Rampa Rebellion, and he has conducted a guerrilla warfare against the colonial forces. Colonial forces. Okay. So mainly he fought against the Madras Forest Act. Madras Forest Act. What is this Madras Forest Act? Madras Forest Act. So in the Madras Forest Act, it reduces it removed the power, like it removed the tribals' power, or it removed the ability of the tribals to not means collect the forest produce. So if the tribals want to collect the forest produce, that is banned by this Madras Forest Act. So against this Madras Forest Act, and also make these tribals to work for the contractors and the money lenders for cheap. So that is the important components of this Madras Forest Act. So the Alluri Sitaramraju are also called the Manyam Veerudu, and he fought against these colonial powers against this act in a guerrilla rebellion, and he got died by the colonial forces. He went into we can call it as a brutal murder, like they have captured him, and without producing in a trial and court, directly they shooted. Okay, so that is very important rebellions when we do the modern history, right? Yeah. Next important thing, center opens the power bids to 4 China linked firms. Very important development, very critical development. As we see that recent, like there are some upgradation of the Indo-China relations. Like Chinese foreign minister has visited India, and Indian foreign delegation also visited China, and we have seen some upgradation in the Indo-Chinese relations. As part of that, the center opens power bids to 4 China linked firms. So what here it is telling that after 2020 Galwan clash has happened after 2020. After 2020, China, like India, has banned any kind of foreign investments and exports, especially foreign investments related to our boundary countries. So any company where the India shares the land boundary, especially Pakistan, Afghanistan, okay, Myanmar, China, these kind, Bangladesh. So these any of the companies belongs to these country, they have to obtain the security clearances, and they have to get proper permissions from the government. But with the recent move after the post Galwan clash, so India now have given the permission to the 4 Chinese companies in participation to the electricity manufacturing and supply. So 4 Chinese companies. So why India have to do that? As India want to be a Vikasit Bharat. So it need huge amounts of energy, right? Huge amounts of electricity, especially. So electricity is a GTP. What is mean by GTP? GPT, general purpose technology. That is very essential. The general purpose technology is electricity. So to improve the electricity infrastructure, to improve the electricity infra, so the government has allowed these 4 Chinese companies. Why they have to allow these 4 Chinese companies? Why can't India has done? The Indian companies has not having certain ability to manufacture certain equipments related to this electric supply. So that's why India has to allow the Chinese companies to manufacture and supply those kind of special equipment. If we ban the Chinese companies, if we continue, if India don't allow or doesn't allow these companies to work with the India's electricity sector, what will be the outcome? So our expansion of the electricity infrastructure will be delayed. So who will get loss? Only the India and the Indian manufacturers and Indian electricity sector will only get the loss. That's why India allowed only four companies, only four companies for the year of 2 years, for the time period of 2 years. Only for the time period of 2 years, they allowed the four Chinese companies. That is one of the major development after the post-Galwan clash. Okay, so that is one important news. Okay. Next important news we can see. Here we can see one thing. It's local news related to the Hyderabad. So Japanese technology shows promise in sewage treatment, says HMWSSB. What is this HMWSSB? Hyderabad Metropolitan Water Supply and Sewerage Board. So which deals with this water supply and sewerage. Okay, sewage. So Japanese technology, what it has done here, so very important. Instead of using chemicals, to treat sewerage, so they have used biological, especially bacteria. So they have used the bacteria to treat the sewerage. And they have started one pilot project and it was very successful. So with the help of bacteria, they are able to purify this sewerage or the sewage. So what is the benefit of using the bacteria instead of chemicals or other processes? So it will be the chemical free, purification, and also with the using of the biological bacteria, especially the BOD, biological oxygen demand. It has decreased rapidly to the 90%. Maybe you get this thing in the BOD in your environment. What is mean by the BOD? Biological oxygen demand. So the microorganisms present in the pollution, like polluted water. So the amount of oxygen it takes to break down these pollutants, the amount of oxygen it takes to break down the pollutants, that is the BOD. BOD. What happens if the microorganisms consumes more oxygen to break the pollutants, more oxygens to break the pollutants. So what will be the results? So the dissolved oxygen in the water will decrease or increase because the huge consumption of oxygen is done by these microorganisms. So to break the pollutants, if the oxygen usage by these organisms increase, the oxygen availability will decrease. So the means the living of the water, like the fish and other living things in the water, will have the less oxygen and they may even cause to death, and it will decrease the life forms under water. Okay, so this is very important. So with this Japanese technology, what they have done, they have introduced these biological things, the microorganisms into the treatment of the sewage. So with the sewage, they are using this instead of using the costly organic pollutants. So they are using these kind of things. So which helps to decrease the biological oxygen demand. Okay, this is one important news. And next, so when it comes to the editorials, the first editorial is about the Iran conundrum and the decline of the West. The Iran conundrum and the decline of the West. Simply, I will tell the Iran conundrum and decline of the West. What does it mean by the Iran conundrum and the decline of the West? The present issue, the present Iran-US conflict. The Iran-US conflict, what it has done, it has significantly decreased the power of the West. it has significantly decreased the power of the West, especially US. In the West, it means the author is talking about the US. So US wish to establish a unipolar world, which means that the whole world should, you know, circulate or revolve around the US. So these kind of lenient about the US has significantly hampered with the Iran-US conflict. So what will be the outcomes? What is the outcome? So the US power has decreased, especially the is NATO didn't came with the US to fight to means attack the Iran, and the Gulf countries like the UAE, Saudi, these countries they lost the trust on the US because they are not able to protect them properly, and the world is moving towards multipolar world. The world is moving towards the multipolar world, especially with the rise of China and the rise of the regional powers like middle powers like India, Gulf countries, Turkey, Russia, these kind of countries. So which significantly hampering the process of making the a world into a unipolar world. Okay, this is what the author is telling that. So this Iran-US conflict has significantly dampened the power structure of the US. And the next important thing he has discussed was like when it comes to the India Iran relations also he has discussed. India Iran relations also he has discussed. Why India needs Iran? Why India needs Iran? One important reason, Iran has lot of oil and gas, and India also need lot of oil and gas. Iran has lot of oil and gas, and India needs lot of oil and gas. So definitely a good relations with the Iran will help us further to improve our energy security. Okay. Second important thing, Iran is a unavoidable regional force. Iran is an unavoidable regional force, and it can give the axis. It can give the axis towards Central Asia, right? It can give the access towards the Central Asia, Afghanistan, because we are not sharing the land border with the Afghanistan. So to reach the Afghanistan by land, so what we have to do? We have to we have to take the help of the Iran only. So to improve our relations in the Central Asia, so Iran will be very important partner. And the revival of INSTC, India North-South Trade Corridor, sorry, International North-South Trade Corridor, very, very important, the INSTC, which starts which connects the India to the Russia. Okay, very, very important. The revival of INSTC is very important. And the fourth important thing, so anyway, the US will lift the sanctions if this memorandum of peace understanding, like the 60 days peace, and if the final agreement uh, it comes into the effect. So what happens? US has to lift the sanctions on Iran. When US lifts the sanctions on Iran, so what will be the outcome? So Iran will be in a better economical position, and that's why we can't avoid. So India has a huge export potential, huge export potential to Iran, because we have some kind of a cultural relations with the Iran. As the Iranian people, they like and they love to eat the Indian foods and all. Like for example, our basmati rice is a classical example. So usually the people in the Iran, they usually eat the basmati rice. So now at present, India is not exporting anything to the Iran. But from now, when the US lifts the sanction, so India can export the huge export potential we have, INSTC and the revival of the Chabahar port, and also access towards the Central Asia, Afghanistan, very, very important. Lot of oil and gas. These are the reasons. These are the core important reasons why India has to maintain a strong relations with the Iran. Okay. So this is one important thing. And next, building the water security in rapidly drying India. So Indian cities from Bangalore to Mussoorie, June saw a monsoon rainfall deficit of 40%. Delhi is facing a severe shortage and supply plumped to 70%. Okay. So what happening, what the author is discussing here, so as it is telling that building the water security in rapidly drying India, he's simply mentioning that the present scenario of the monsoon, the present scenario of the monsoon is El Nino. What mean by the El Nino? We have less rainfall, less rainfall. Okay, long period average. Here, this time they only projected the 90%. The long period average is 90%. So what the author is telling, it is very important to secure all the groundwater resources. So why, what are the important factors why the India need the groundwater? India case of 18% old population we have. 18% old population is with India. But only 4% of the global freshwater resource. Global freshwater resource are with India. Global freshwater resources. So 18% world population we have for India, and we only have the 4% of global freshwater resource. So here we can understand how strategically we have to maintain our freshwater resource. Especially with the monsoon, we have less rainfall. With the less rainfall, what does it mean? Less recharge of groundwater. Less recharge of groundwater. So what India has to do, because of this monsoon, we have the less rainfall availability, and which means the less recharge of the groundwater, less recharge of the reservoirs, less recharge of the reservoirs, less recharge of the reservoirs. Then what India has to do? So author is telling that this is the actual problem we have. So what the author is telling, so India has to make plan very wisely, so that India should think about, you know, about not non-water intensive crops or less water intensive crops. Water intensive crops. As we know that 1 kg of rice, 1 kg of rice requires almost 3000 to 4000 liter of the water. So that is a very high water intensive crop. So what the author is telling, to make the groundwater storage available, so non-water intensive crop should be promoted, like the millets and cereals, these kind of things. And also, so safe water harvesting or the protected water harvesting, like drip irrigation should be promoted. Drip irrigation should be promoted, and promote like insurance for the crops. Insurance for the crops. Okay. Author also tell that like India needs the fresh water. So fresh water availability is a basic right for every human. The availability of the fresh water is very important. Availability of the fresh water is very important. Accessibility towards the fresh water is also very important. Accessibility. Storage of the storage is very important, as well as the quality of the fresh water is very important. Sustainability of the fresh water is very important. Sustainability of the fresh water is very important, and also the resilience of the fresh water is also very important. So what does it mean? What does it mean, all these things? So a country or a area which is having a self-sufficient in the water, or self-sufficient in the water means they should have all these parameters. First, the water should be available, and it should be accessible, it should be storable. So accessible and storable almost same. The quality should be a good quality of the water, and the sustainability factor should be high, means the water should be sustainable and resilient for the climate changes. The resilient for the climate changes like recent El Nino kind of conditions. So when these 5 parameters are met, when these 5 parameters are met, so we can call that country or that place has achieved that, water, proper water storage facility, or the proper water storage sustainability. Okay, there should be availability, accessibility, quality, sustainability, and resilience towards the climate changes. And here, the India Iran, the sorry, we have, yeah, here only we have discussed it. So here, to meet these 5 parameters, what the government has to promote? The government has to promote the non-water intensive crops like millets and all, drip irrigation, insurance for the water crops and all, the government have to promote. So this is the problem with the groundwater storage. India is facing a severe stress with the groundwater storage. For example, the present El Nino is giving the less rainfall. What is the alternative for the farmers? They will just take the water from the groundwater. If they have taken, if they will take the lot of water from the groundwater and they use it for the production of the crop, the groundwater recharge will happen or not? Definitely it will not happen, as there is no rains. And even in the reservoirs and in the canals, the water will be very less. So very effectively, very carefully we have to use the water. So that is what the author is discussing. Okay, so next important article, the India will consider all related developments to Teesta project, says MEA. Days after the Bangladesh Prime Minister, here what happened? The TRC MRP. This is very important. The TRC MRP project. The TRC MRP project. What is this? Teesta River Comprehensive Maintenance and Restoration Project. Restoration project. So what is this project? This project is going to start by Bangladesh. And this project, the recent Bangladesh Prime Minister, when he did his first foreign visit to China, he has awarded this project to the Chinese company for $1 billion. $1 billion. So $1 billion project to a Chinese company during his recent Chinese visit. So what is its impact on India? So what is its impact on India? We can see our map, northeast map, our northeast map. Okay. So this is the Bangladesh map. So we can see here the Bangladesh, and this is India, northeast. And this Teesta river has born from somewhere here in the glaciers of Sikkim, and it will flow until into the Bangladesh, and it will means it will add to the Brahmaputra river. It will add to the Brahmaputra river. Only 17% of Teesta flows into the Bangladesh. Remaining 83% has flow is with the India. So very short river, 460 kilometers, around 400 to 460 kilometers river, which is very short river. 17% only it is flowing into the Bangladesh. But the many people around, based on this river, so their livelihood was dependent on this river. So the people who are living in the Bangladesh. So to make them more water to be available, and to help them for the more revenue to be generated through fishing and other activities. So Bangladesh government from long time it is planning to expand or to improve this Teesta river infrastructure. And it has awarded this project to India, but India has unable to fulfill, and even India has unable to fulfill the final deal of the river water sharing of this Teesta river. So because of the Mamata government. So due to the Mamata government, so India has faced the hurdles. India and Bangladesh has faced the hurdles why the river is with the state subject. So that's why now BJP government has come, but we will see in the future, maybe the final agreement of the Teesta river water agreement will happen between the India and Bangladesh. Only the 7% of the Tista River is flowing into the Bangladesh. And these these 1 billion project, this 1 billion project is around the 7% only, this 17% only. This 1 billion project will happen in this 17%. But what is its implication of India? This is very important because as it is near to our Siliguri corridor or the chicken neck, the famous chicken neck. So, for example, just consider to complete this project, at least it will take 3-4 years, which means that China has one habit that it will not, even the project is like, for example, even if the project is conducting in a foreign country, it will not hire the foreign technicians and the foreign engineers. So what China will do, China will send the Chinese people to do this major work. Only the small labor work will be hired by the local people. But what happens? So next 3-4 years or until the project completes, these Chinese engineers and the Chinese officials will stay near this area, near to this Siliguri Chinese chicken snake corridor. So it will have a huge security implication. They can completely, able to track our military defense movements towards the northeast countries, because the northeast heavily like guarded by especially for the Assam rifles. So the continuous logistic movements, the continuous logistic transportation in between this area, in this area will be guarded using the Chinese officials or the Chinese people who are present in that project. So that is one important major security implications. Major security implications. So that is what India is carefully watching the developments of this Tista comprehensive maintenance and restoration project. Okay. No revival of Indus Water Treaty if Pak does not end terror. Again, the India on Friday said that Indus Water Treaty will remain in abeyance till Pakistan credibly, irrevocably stops supporting the cross-border terrorism. Official spokesperson of the External Affairs Ministry. Yeah, this is very good statement. Okay. So center orders blocking the battery management apps. So what happens nowadays in the Delhi and these regions, the battery vehicles, battery or e-rickshaws are getting popularity. But what happens to manage the battery of that e-rickshaws and all, those companies which are supplied, those batteries which are supplied and designed and developed in China, so they have developed some maintenance apps. So that maintenance apps are available to for everyone in the Play Store and the Apple Store. So you can download that app and you can check, you can go to the, you can connect to the nearby e-rickshaw, and with your Bluetooth you can able to connect with any, without any ID or login or password, and you can able to track the health of the battery, and you can automatically switch off the battery into running off mode. So what happens, some kind of youth, what they're doing, they are installing this app and they're going near to the Bluetooth range of that e-rickshaws and they are stopping the battery, and in between the traffic and all, those rickshaws are getting stopped. So especially government has identified 3 important applications and they removed those 3 applications from the Play Store and the Apple Store. Okay. India firms will have to leave comfort zone to achieve the 1 trillion exports. That is also very important. Yeah, these are the important news articles of today, and tomorrow we'll meet with the tomorrow's news articles. Thank you, and subscribe our channel for the future updates.